to welcome everyone to another exciting journey on Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and tonight's show, I have to say, and kind of in a little bit of transparency, we've been laughing and having some fun chatting behind the scenes before we got started. So I think you all are in for a treat with tonight's guest. And I did practice the name, so I'm hoping I pronounce it correctly of my guest. Because as a host, we all know there's nothing worse than pronouncing your guest name wrong. So I will do my best. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my awesome, amazing, super talented guest, Namdag Tsomo.
Oh, you bet. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing what you're about to share with us.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what that is too.
And so, for those who may not be familiar with your background, would you mind giving the audience a little taste of who you are and what you do?
So I am a shamanic practitioner, like a shamanic life path coach. And I teach people to regulate their nervous systems. So basically, when COVID started and everyone went on lockdown, I had just almost died in 2018 from alcoholism, and I was in severe liver failure. And I was good at hiding it. A lot of people didn't know. I mean, that was coming out of 19 years of hosting, Buddhists at a Buddhist center. And basically what that did to me was compound my child abuse and trauma from a young age. I never dealt with that. I drank on top of it, after my baby died. And I wasn't able to have any more. I just would drink over that pain. And everything led to where I am today. So my past was just my path, and it brought me here. I wouldn't be sitting here, which is really amazing, and I wouldn't have met Michael. So I'm very glad to be here. But yeah, basically I just help people find their inner power, to uncover who they really are before they were brainwashed by family, society, religion. When you're two, you get those timeouts, and that's when you start exercising your voice. That's when you get shut down. And you just keep getting shut down. And we all want to belong. We all want to belong and feel loved. So we change ourselves to fit in, to fit in with the crowd so that we won't be lonely, so that we'll be accepted. And since I've started this healing journey, I've lost a lot of friends. And I couldn't help it. It's like my vibrational frequency changes. They don't mesh up anymore. And people will move away from that energy if they're not the same type of energy. They don't want to be reminded that there's healing to do in them as well, and they're not ready yet, so they'll move away. Or maybe they just have a different perspective or something, and I'm seeing that people will gravitate in and out of my life at different times, at different periods of my journey, and animals as well. Like my dog that just passed away, Buddy Redbow. I named him Buddy Redbow because of the movie Pow Wow Highway. It's like it's a buddy movie like Easy Rider, but it's for Native Americans. And so Buddy Redbow, he was like my personal trainer. He got me back to health. He took me on some 3-4 hour hikes through nature, and he did artwork with me. He did vending with me. He was a real trailblazer, go-getter type of dog. I lost him to heart failure. He had an enlarged heart. And he spent the whole day with us out under the Bodhi tree in the backyard. And it was beautiful. The leaves were falling off the Bodhi tree, and it just reminded you of life and death. And, and new ones were coming in already, too. So it was very symbolic. And that night, after he came in from going to the bathroom, I went to kiss him, and he just seized and died right in my arms. And about a month later, we have a tripod healer named Sammy. Sammy's dealing with trauma and abandonment. And that's what I'm dealing with. My birth mom left me when I was 5 months old. And, I've lost parts of my body because of past traumas and relationships. Like an ovary, a gallbladder, a baby, the ability to have, pieces of me too. And then he's been betrayed by somebody that loved him, who said they loved him, and that hurt him. So he's dealing with the same issues that I am, but also he's helping my husband open his heart chakra, and cry, which he's never been able to do. Because as a young child, he was told he's a strong silent type, So these messages that we're told as we are young by people like, oh, you're too sensitive. Like I was always told I was too sensitive. And that's kind of like telling me my feelings were wrong, And I am sensitive. I'm an empath. I can soak up I have to make sure that I have a protective energy field around me when I go outside, and I have power animals. I can, my middle world power animal, if I want to shapeshift into him to give me sense of confidence, because from 5 months on until, in the hospital, I was sexually abused when I was dying in 2 different of the hospitals. And I thought that when I married my third husband, who was a sweet, wonderful guy, that I would never get attacked like that again, but it happened. And they lied and said that he had drugged me and to keep him away from the hospital, so I couldn't tell him. So we were both dealing with this type of betrayal that we're trying to work through, but it's brought us even closer together. Me almost dying's brought us even closer together. You might say the first part of our relationship was codependent, so since 2018, I figure that's how long we've really been married, because we've really been seeing each other and not our idea of what we want the other to be. We've not been expecting the other person to heal anything in us. Now we're taking control. I'm looking at my inner children. I have like 5 or 6 of them in there, different ages, that are screaming for attention. So I like to do like inner family system type improv, drama therapy, stuff like that, because that's kind of like a form of hypnosis. And that you don't know what's going to come out. Like you have a certain scenario, you're like, okay, this person said they're going to show up and pick you up at so-and-so time, but they didn't. And the inner characters are like your critical inner parent, your loving parent, maybe your inner child, your little and of course, the inner child's hurt. So the dynamic, the critical parent's always going to be repeating those things back to you that are negative about yourself. And what you got to do when that happens is tap into your loving parent. Your loving parent is your higher self, and you got to give those inner children love and good talk, and everyone needs to remind themselves how powerful they are, because we are born like shamans until we get all that layers of film, false beliefs, dogma, blinders, fear. Fear is the biggest control thing of all. So since it's been getting scary in the world lately, I've stopped cooking and baking cookies and cooking for Buddhist communities and stuff like that, and cooking for AA and all that. I started out in AA, and then I went to other programs to help with the inner children. But because the abuse and trauma that I went through were so deep and for such a long period of time, and from people that I was supposed to trust, I started saying, I need a shaman to my husband. And then I did start my shamanic studies with my mother when I went to California when I was 16 and pregnant, to meet her for the first time since she left when I was 5 months old. And she got me started on shamanism. I didn't believe in God at the time. I stopped believing in God because, I was raised strict Southern Baptist. It was like, I think, religious abuse. And, when I was getting baptized, my purse got stolen. That kind of put a little light on. Anyway, so, within a year, and I was young, so 5 people died, including my grandfather, who killed himself, shot himself in the head, and my brother and I found him. So I was just like, there's no God. But, my mom, when I went to California, she'd give me this crystal, not this one here. This one's just my smoky quartz. But she gave me a little crystal, and her spirit animal was owl. And so I named it Owl, but I laughed at it. I thought it was silly, because I never heard of crystals and stuff like that. But I was like, sure, okay, I'll put it in my pocket. She's like, carry it with you wherever you go. And so one night, it was August 1986, I'm walking with my friend up in Matilha Canyon in Ojai. And we're witnessing, we're just going to 20 minutes away up the canyon to my brother's house on foot to bum a cool cigarette, because we like the cools, because you get that and it was kind of chilly outside, and we're like, let's go to Mark's and get a cools. So we're walking up there, and there's all these shooting stars, and like 30 or 40, and in that much that amount of time we walked there, and I felt like I felt strange inside. And my friend Dirk, he was like, well, you coming in? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to stay out here for a little bit. And I was by a picnic table, and it was the same picnic table that I used to dance under the moon to all the time. I put on Bob Seger or In Excess, blast at my brother's trailer, and I would just dance out there, and it would just let the stress fall off, and it just felt so good. So Dirk went in the trailer, and I was feeling all ooey gooey inside, and I took the crystal, and I'm like, all right, I guess it's worth a shot. I'm going to have an open mind. I've always had an open mind. So I said, okay, God, that was really good, but if you really exist, I'm going to need some real proof. And I held up the crystal, and I started going, show me your magic, show me your magic, show. And I stopped like in mid sentence because there was a spaceship over me. There was like a white light in the center, and there were colored lights that were blinking simultaneously, and then just a circle of like white lights over outside. And I was just like, they couldn't move. And then it turned sideways. It was like flat, but it turned sideways and came at me like a plate. And I just like ran. I was, oh shit, I ran and I tripped over a stool and fell flat on my back, and it flattened out and it just skimmed right over my body. And I got to my feet and I called for Dirk to come out of the house. I'm like, Dirk. And he comes out and it was going off towards the mountain. And he's like, whoa, that's a UFO, gnarly. And I was like, you see it too? And he's like, yeah, man, that's a UFO. And I'm like, oh my God, because I thought I was like losing my mind. And so I was so excited, and we went home to tell my mom about it. And she was so pissed off. And I'm like, thought she would be excited. And um, she's like, you've been gone all night. And we'd lost like 6 or 7 hours, and we couldn't explain it. And Dirk was like a hardcore biker guy. And he was like, always his house was the biker house. And he like overnight turned born again Christian. And then I got hungry for spiritual knowledge, and I was devouring inner child books. That's when I found Healing the Child Within at an outside bookstore. And I was just like reading like Mary Summer Rain and Lynn Andrews and I forget this one Native American guy, something bear. Anyway, Snow Bear or something like that. And my mom started, her teachings she was starting to teach me things. And once I met my current husband, he took me to New York to meet his family. And I had to get away from my family because I was kind of like, I don't know, I think I was kind of like the black sheep up there. I just didn't really fit in. I didn't fit into either family, really. I don't know. I tried. I just couldn't. And so he took me to New York to meet his family. And that's how I got in New York. But they started stripping away all my, like, the things that, the magical things that I call them, my superpowers, the hippie stuff or whatever you want to call it. They were stripping it away, getting me the little black dress and the pearls, and I had to look a certain part and act a certain way and talk a certain way. And I could feel my real self dying, that wild California self. I had like a beat up surfer trailer that I bought for $100 just so I'd have a place to keep my stuff and a place to sleep. And I did a lot of shamanic journeying in there and soul travel and leaving. And that was trailers where I learned how to do a lot. And so I lost myself. And then I guess the whole Buddhism thing came around, and that was like a lot of years taking care of other people, ignoring all the abuse and trauma of my past. And what that did is just compounded it. I remember at one point I asked a lama, I said, I love to help, but I'm just so tired. Because it was just me and my husband, and we sort of resurrected the Buddhist center in our area. And now because of us, there is a center, like a big center in Wesley Chapel. I mean, we did donate a lot of money to help that happen. But now there's a center here, and that would have happened if that didn't happen. But it did set me over the edge, and I asked my husband, I said, because he changed. I mean, he was looking for spiritualism, and I prayed to God when I was a little girl. I'm like, I want a husband, I want him to be a writer, I want our relationship to be 50-50, and spirituality's got to be important to him. And this was a prayer I said on the edge of my bed when I was a little girl, and I could feel the energy behind me, and it was his energy. Because when I met him, and when he finally touched me, I mean, we were friends for a while, but when he finally touched me, it was that same energy. And boy, did I get the religion part. I got more than I bargained for there, though. you know but he was a great guy, and I wasn't going to lose him to the Buddha. And so, one day, though, I asked him, I said, are you going to leave me and become a monk? And he said, I'll do whatever my root lama tells me to do. And I started drinking again after 10 years not, but I was white knuckling it. I had no programs or anything. So I thought I could stop after he came back to his senses and kind of realized that, Buddhist monks are just people too, and prone to flaws just like anybody else. And it's inside where you got to do the work. You're the one that's got to do it. You can't expect somebody else to do it for you. You have all the power you need. And so we're back there now, but I couldn't stop drinking. It got me so bad. I had the big belly, the sloshy legs, sloshing, and the water just coming out. And yeah, I spent like 5 or 6 months trying to live. And then after I got out, I wasn't sure I was going to live either for a while. When I got to AA, they were saying one day at a time. And I was thinking, I don't know if I have one day at a time. But I did. And so after I got stronger from not drinking, then it was time to work on the inner child issues and all that. And, I got to that point where the words just fell off. Talk therapy wouldn't help. And I knew I needed to do a deep dive, and I've been deep diving ever since. And I said, well, if I'm learning this right now, there's got to be other people that want to learn it too. So I started writing articles and I put them out. I will have to say it's divine inspiration, though, because I don't know what I'm going to write about. It just hits me in the head, like all these shamanic masks. I just got visions of them, and they just kept coming. And now I'm surrounded by shamanic drumming masks, and I don't know what to do with them. But when spirit talks, you listen, So yeah. So I made it, and who knows? Maybe somewhere down the line, something's going to happen with all the shamanic drumming masks. And I know that I get thank yous for the articles because I put exercises in them. And I don't want people to have to pay an arm and a leg to get better, to get back to themselves. I mean, their authentic selves was stolen from them, so why should they have to pay an arm and a leg to get them back? It seems like all you got to let people know is they have the power to do it. Just follow some and believe that they have the power to do it.
Right. And one thing that you brought up that I have never heard anybody else bring up that I think is actually brilliant and could maybe help a lot of people is we all hear, oh, you have to work on your inner child or do your shadow work with your inner child, to heal your inner child. And we think, okay, so there's one inner child that's doing everything for us. And when you were saying, yeah, you have like multiple inner childs, I was like, well, that makes sense because we would have our like 10 and under inner child, our preteen inner child, our teenager inner child, young
Yeah.
adult inner child, where those are all levels where we're still learning.
Mm-hmm.
And it would make sense why, at certain age, material, the inner child healing work necessarily, it does work, but it doesn't really hit the core, and you're having to repeat it a lot because we're talking to the wrong inner child.
Hmm. Well, I think it's different for everybody, but for me, it's I had certain traumas when at the prepubescent age. There was a lot of ages that got hit. So I have like a 5-month-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, 11-year-old, and then the teen, the 16-year-old that lost the baby. The teen that's your anger. The teen is usually your anger. When you're angry, that's the teen. When you're sad, it's usually one of the little ones, And when you're talking badly about yourself or down on yourself, that's the critical inner parent. And when you the loving parent is coming from your higher self. So everybody needs to tell the critical inner parent to work with the loving parent, because she's given the inner children what they didn't get from the parents. So it's up to the individual to give themselves that love that they crave from the outside world, because they're not going to get it the way they want it unless they give it to themselves.
Right. And it makes sense too, as we think about, like, you were saying, like, the teenagers, the teenage years are usually the anger years where there's the acting out. And so it makes sense that that love would be different from, say, the little child who was like, I was scared over this. That's a different love. And the inner child that goes, well, this person just picked on me, but I learned to do this, this, and this. Well, that's a different type of love. So there's different loves per situation, per inner child, so to speak.
Usually the inner
So,
teen looks after the younger ones too. Like the inner teen will stick up for the younger ones and get angry for the younger ones. But then you're also got a sad part, and that's the younger ones. Um, it's just about feeling what's going on. And I think like Richard Schwartz has a book out, Internal Family System book. It explains all the different parts. That's one you want to get, because it helps explain the dynamics between the different parts and how to know how to work them. And that's another thing. I just listen to so many trauma specialists and study them. And, I got certified as a trauma specialist and a debriefer. But doesn't mean I'm going to stop learning from some of the top people, because, what I learn, I help others with that, or the ones that are looking for it. I know I was looking for it. And when I was walking by that outdoor bookstore, it was Bart's Bookstore in Ojai, California. And they had a big tree growing through the center of the bookstore. And I would always walk with my backpack. And there it was on the outside of the bookstore, healing the child within. And the funny thing about that is my husband's sponsor in one of his codependent programs told him, well, he was like apprentice to Charles Whitfield. So he was friends with him, and we're friends with him when he wrote the book, and he was my husband's sponsor, and he told him to get Healing the Child Within and read it with your wife. I was like, what? Because that was the book that I found, And I read it so much the pages were falling out. My second husband, he didn't want me to have anything that I liked or was good for me, so he threw the book away because I paid too much attention to it. And I was like, I took that as a sign to start a Healing the Child Within meeting. And so I did on Zoom. It's on Sundays. It's been going for almost 7 years now. I don't go to that one anymore because I started a Soul Fire Rising meeting. It's more of a shamanic type thing. And it's a meeting where people can come and teach others what they know. So it's we all come in and who's got what. And somebody could say, I've got some tapping. Somebody could say, I've got some chakra balancing. And then we vote on what we want to do that day. Or somebody could say, I want to dance. And then we'll all dance, It's like, it's just that kind of meeting where we just, yeah. And,
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And I'm kind of curious with everything you've gone through in your life. You mentioned in your bio about working in collaborations with beings of light. And so I wonder if you ever sat back and looked at everything you've gone through in your life and go, this has led me to be able to do this and make this possible, or do you just view everything as in sequential order and it's all still just leading to something?
oh, it feels good to love my parents and not be upset at them anymore. And my mom helps me with art now. And I never got along with her when she was alive. And she's on my screensaver on my phone now. It's like I make shamanic ancestral healing power dolls. And my niece sent me a pair of black pants that belonged to my mom. And I used the pants to make dolls. And I stuffed the dolls, like my nieces sent everything they wanted me to adorn it with or put in it, memories of her. So it's got herbs and memories inside the doll. It's my mom's pants. And then I decorate it. And it's supposed to do ancestral healing. And it's by my front door. And then I have pictures of her on it. And I bet my little cards there. And sometimes I'll leave her a little cookie or a flower in there. And but I look back at it, and especially now that I know at my original soul family, I chose my whole path. I chose to be molested as a young infant and molested all throughout my life and raped. I chose to be beaten. And that sounds terrible because people that have gone through horrible stuff are like, I did not choose this. And yeah, if you want to be that way about it, then it's going to hurt more.
Well, what we're talking about, I'll just see if this helps clarify it, is we're talking on a soul level that you made soul contracts before coming that certain things would happen. We're not saying as in this realm being already born going, okay, I want you to do this so I can learn this. So we're talking two different realms of making agreements. That's what we're talking about here.
You do come with an original soul agreement, but there is a time in your life you can say, I don't want to do this anymore, and you can rewrite your soul agreement. I took a soul agreement journey. That's to the upper world. You can't go alone. You have to have your spirit animal guide, upper world animal guide, or whoever your upper world guide is, take you there. And then it's from there, you have to go even further. It's this whole journey. I have the way to do it on my YouTube channel. One of the YouTubes on there shows you how to rewrite your soul contract. But yeah, it's all the lessons you want to, and if the more trauma you have, then you just agreed to burn off a lot more karma, you know? Or maybe you just want to come here and, you just want to have it easy. But for some reason, I chose to, you know. But now I know that I know the reason. I know the reason I don't have babies. I know the reason I can't. And I know the reason I'm here now. And I know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And I need to keep the medicine pure, so I'm not really attaching any monetary value to anything. Because like I said, we didn't have to pay to lose it. We didn't have to pay to get abused. We shouldn't have to pay to get our authentic selves back. We didn't pay to lose it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of curious with everything you've been through, and normally I'd ask, like, what was the aha moment that set all this into motion, but you've kind of already shared that along the way. And so what I want to ask is, how did it feel experiencing that aha moment and realization of, oh, I created this and now I can change it and heal it? So what did all that coming to you and all that awareness, what did that all feel like, and how did you manage to work your way through it all?
I'm still working my way through it, little by little, because it's just gradual. I mean, and it takes a lot of patience. I think that the most important thing is to go inside of yourself. Everyone, I mean, instead of looking out there for the answers, I mean, they're all inside. That's where your heaven and hell are. Which one are you going to cultivate? The trauma, too. Like, it's not all bad. And emotions, I mean, they're not all bad. Like, you could take the anger that you feel, and you could create some of the most wonderful art with that energy and transmute that energy into something amazing. And I love doing that. If I'm upset and I don't know what to do with that energy, I'll look right on it like something's getting made or written or something. And then sometimes I'll get up and I'm like, I don't, I should write something, but I don't know what I'm going to write. And I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to write today. And then boom, something will hit me in the head. I mean, not like physically, but just something, and I'll have to write about it because I'll know it's the higher powers, that be, and they want it written. And so the things I do now are not just for myself. They have to be for the whole of humanity, the whole, animals, nature. We're even vegan now. I mean, for the most part, sometimes we get like a biryani and it has some chicken in it. But other than that.
So what got you into the path of qigong?
I had to hold my breath a lot because I had to hide a lot when I was a kid. And we weren't allowed to speak, or we would get, or, smacked or something, unless we were asked a direct question. I wasn't breathing, and I didn't realize it until I moved to New York City. And on the subway, I wasn't breathing. And I realized I held my breath a lot. So tension and stress make you hold your breath. You're not, your breath gets shallow. And then I had like the gallbladder pains and stuff, and oh, it was terrible. And the qigong breathing would help loosen it up. But now it's like I depend on it. It's if I'm having any kind of weirdness in my body, I'll just stop and I'll do like maybe 4 rounds, and I'll be back on track again. Um, it's it's the best tool in my arsenal. I would have to say it's the basic. Yeah, got to have it.
Yeah. And one thing I'm kind of looking at and trying to think about it and noticing your journey and your awakening and awareness and everything. I keep going back to that moment where you were spinning the crystal and this UFO was above and you had the missing time. Do you think that something happened, not necessarily in the missing time, but when your perception became aware of the UFO? Do you think that opened up something within you and you were like all of a suddenly able to see and understand things in a new way?
I think it just made me really hungry to learn everything. Yeah, spiritual knowledge. Um, and I really hate when they're portrayed as evil on movies and stuff, because that wasn't my experience at all. And even when I lived in Vegas, my second husband was extremely abusive, and my grandfather's ghost was even visit me. When my husband would leave the house, he would appear again. And so I know he was there looking after me as well. But I would have dreams that I would be abducted again, and I could feel myself being pulled towards the ceiling. I'd be walking down this road, and I would be naked, and there was like 3 spaceships, and people were running and screaming, and they were scared. And I was like, why is everybody scared? And then I'm like, oh, I got to go home and put clothes on. They're going to want to take me on a ride. And so I was trying to get my pants on, but then they just pulled me right out the top of my trailer. And then I would get back on the bed, and it would be like a bounce type thing. And I'd wake up and I'd feel so much better, because he was so abusive, and I was out in the middle of the Nellis, outside of Nellis Air Force Base, in the middle of the desert, and with this guy in a trailer park. And he kind of chased away all my friends and family, and I was out there when I didn't know how I was going to get away from him. And I was having nervous breakdowns, and they would visit me, and when they would leave, I would feel calm and at peace. And I prayed for them to God. I prayed to him to get me out of there. And it just happened so fast one night. Like we were supposed to go camping, and then he came home, and he, as usual, he throws his tool belt on top of my typewriter, and he's like, we're going out to have a picnic in the desert with some guys I'm working with. And so we go out to the middle of the desert. There was like a big full moon. It was like reddish. And there was a pen full of these baby pigs. And I was talking to, the guys he worked with. They didn't speak, they were all Hispanic. They didn't speak any English, but I could speak some Spanish, because I worked as a waitress a lot. And, the guys in the back, you had to communicate with them. And I was playing with the little pigs, and then they just dragged this mama pig out in front of me and shot her right in the head. and right at my feet. And I walked up to her head, and her eyes just locked on me. And I put my hand on her head, and I said, I send your soul to heaven. And I felt like this jolt go up my arm. And then I was outside of my body, and I was above my body looking down at these guys butchering this mama pig in front of her babies and me. And my husband was making jokes about screwing the pig in the butt. And he had the knife in his hand. And I was like, I can't believe I'm married to that. And I don't know how long I was out of my body, but then I got jolted back in because he pushed me from behind and he told me to get in the truck. And I was just like watching that big full moon all the way home. It was like right on the side of the car. And he gets home and he just goes to sleep. And I'm like looking for, yeah, I mean, weed. I'm like, yeah, I can't go to sleep. I was like all, and I never had any money because my checks, we went to Albertsons and I just signed my paychecks over for groceries. So he always had all the money. And he was on the couch sleeping. And I said, well, do you have any money so I can go get a beer or something? Because I can't go to sleep. And the 7-Eleven was like a block away. And he's like, my wallet's on the table. Don't wake me up anymore. And so I'm just outside the 7-Eleven, and he rides up on his motorcycle, gets off, and just starts wailing me and throwing me on the ground and kicking me in the stomach with steel-toed boots over and over and over again. And he aims me towards this restaurant window. And I'm like, this is where you're going to die. I remember saying that to myself. And he just threw me on the ground and started kicking me in the stomach again. And I couldn't breathe. And I saw that he was on his bike and he was going to run me over while I was still laying there. And I just sprang up like a cat. And I ran and I found myself in an alley with dumpsters. And I'm like, this is stupid. Why are you in an alley with dumpsters? And so I heard voices. So I ran towards the voices, and it was a bar. And I just crouched in this corner, and this man started talking to me like a dog. He's like, come here, I won't hurt you, I won't hurt you, come here. I'm like, I ain't falling for that banana in the tailpipe again. You know, I will guys that say they ain't gonna hurt you, and then they do. You know, I'm not falling for that again. But then this pickup spun up, and this woman opened the door, and she's like, hurry, get in. And I didn't even think twice. I just dove in that pickup, and they spun out of there, and it was a woman and her husband. And they said, well, who was that guy? And I'm like, that was my husband. And they're like, why was he doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. He thought I was cheating on him or something. He was obsessed with me cheating on him. And I never would, you know, because that's what my first husband did to me. And I never make anybody feel that way. But after that, you know, I had his wallet and there was $150 in it. So I said, take me to the bus station, because they're like, where do you want to go? I didn't have anywhere to go. So I went back to Ojai, and the bus ride was hellish because I almost got picked up by a guy, this pimp, that was watching me the whole time. And then the LA bus depot, he was trying to get me to go outside with him. And I saw this man who looked like my big brother standing by the vending machine where the bus was lining up for the next bus to Ojai. And I said, well, let me go over there and get something from the vending machine. I'm a little thirsty. And he's like, well, hurry up. And so I went over there and I pretended I was putting money in the vending machine. And the guy that looks like my brother, he's like, that guy's going to hurt you. And I said, I know. What do I do? He's been following me since the bus. And he's like, stay here with me. Stay next to me. And he was really nice. I stayed next to him, and he looked like my big brother. It's like the angel sent that guy that looked like my big brother to get me away from that guy. And then the guy was mad. He was calling me a bitch and everything. He was pissed that I didn't come back there. But that's how my life has been. It's like it may be at the last minute, but something always happens that takes me to the next level or gets me out of, a sticky situation. And my husband and I were kind of in that now because since the COVID thing, he lost a job he had for a really long time, a good paying job. And the world's changed so much, with AI and everything, that nobody's hiring for what he does anymore. They might be, but so we're trying to reinvent the wheel. And I think when you reach the age of 50 or 60, things that used to work for you stop working. Um, it seems like the universe's way of making you go inside to do the inner work and stop focusing on the outside so much. And then it opens up different aspects of your personality. Like it's time to try something new. And so we're in that kind of stage. It's, you don't know from one day to the next what you're going to do, but you just lead, you follow,
Well, I have an interesting thought for you is, you had this experience with the UFO beings that was positive when you were young. And you say, all these people just appear looking like, and we would call them angels. And I kind of think angels are like beings that are come to help. So I'm curious, have you ever thought that your, the UFO experience might have been your family, your star family, so as we call it sometimes? And so they've been watching out for you, and that's who, like the lady and the guy and her husband in the truck that just showed up at
Mhm.
the right time. Could that have been
Yeah,
your
yeah,
star family coming in and saying, okay, we're going to get you out of this?
could
And
be. Yeah, I would
yeah,
never say never. No, I would never say never. Or it could be like souls that no, that's part of their contract. I don't know.
yeah.
Why did that guy look like my brother so much so that I felt like he would be safe? It was
Right, that's what
interesting.
I mean by soul family is they're there to support you and help you and not. And so if they look like just anybody, you'd be, like you said, I'm not going to trust that person because, yeah, I know this from this. But if it's someone who looks familiar to you, you're going to go up and trust them more
Yeah, right.
than somebody else.
Hmm. There was a woman on the bus too that I think I had a concussion. I kept trying to fall asleep because he was hitting me, and she wouldn't let me fall asleep. She kept talking my ear off, that lady. She must have been one too.
I think so. And
Yeah.
one thing that you talk about doing that I find very interesting is bridging between worlds. And I'm wondering, all of these things you've been through and are still going through, do you feel like this has all been put in your path because you were the bridge? And this allows you to relate to more people so more people can, understand and you can relate the bridge effect of both worlds, and so you can help people more. I guess is where I'm going with it because you're more relatable because everything you've gone through, there's probably like dozens of people that are like, well, I'm in this situation, but nobody understands it. And you're like, I do. I've been, and
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, you have.
There's a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people have been through some worse stuff and are going through it every day. And I, that's who I'm reaching out for. That's who I'm connected to these people. I feel them right here in my gut, that's where we feel our pain right here. And I think that when you talk to another person who's been through it, you sort of feel that pull there, between you. And it's strong. It's kind of like when I had cirrhosis and I tried telling people who didn't have a cirrhosis what the itching felt like. And they were like, oh, just put a little lotion on it. They didn't understand. Nobody knew what I was talking about. But when I went to the cirrhosis Facebook groups and I talked about it, they're like, oh my God, isn't that terrible? It's like, shorthand.
Yeah, I agree. And what made you decide, was it a pre, contract that you made, or what made you decide, I'd be a great bridge between the earth realm and the spirit realm?
I don't know. I guess because I have more friends there than I do here. I don't know. I I talk more to my guides. I'm alone a lot now that I stopped baking and cooking and being pushover Pammy. Once I put up boundaries, I became like the most hated person. It was very confusing because I'm like, why wouldn't you be happy when somebody's trying to take care of themselves? Why wouldn't you be happy? So, just in my neighborhood, when I was cooking for the Buddhist people, there were people here all the time, and I would buy lots of food and I would share with my neighbors. But once the boundaries went up and the overgiving stopped, then I don't know, then it just seemed like everyone turned against me. And I'm like, well, if that's all that I was, then that's fine, because I'd rather be alone than turn away from myself again. I'd rather, I don't want to dilute myself anymore to make people feel comfortable. I don't want to light myself on fire to keep them warm. I want to be true to my feelings for once in my life and feel what it feels like to actually live from your authentic self, and what it feels like, what before I die. To think that I almost died and I didn't get to do it, it's like, wow, take all that with me. I would have taken it all with me, all of it. I had to come back again or something.
I think my guides and your guides are talking, because I was having a question for you that dealt with authenticity, and you just said your authentic self, and I was like, oh yeah, you guys are talking. But the question that I was going to ask you really wasn't like a question for us, but more for yourself.
Well, I wore this for you.
And that's a really cool shirt, actually.
I told you I got it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. It's Sophie. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, actually, this is all perfect timing, because with the mood you're in now and, being your authentic self, I'm curious, what would you go and say to your earliest self, knowing that that would impact everything going forward from where you are today, with all your authenticity, your self power, and awareness that you now have? Is there something that you would say to your youngest self?
I would tell her that um, just be patient, and as long as she works from the basic base of love and compassion and sees herself connected to everything and every person and treats everything and every person and the environment and earth like she would like to be treated. Um, Plus, not to think that she's better than anyone, because we're all unique, just like everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I
And,
have a challenge for you.
and you don't think what you do to yourself is going to hurt the whole, but it does. And then
Right.
when you heal yourself, it also helps the whole. So,
Yeah. So now I have an interesting challenge for you, and I'm finding this all very strange because I've never done this on a show. But breathe that in. Breathe it in and own that for yourself. All that you just stated.
yeah, I'm doing it. I'm, I mean, some days I get dark. Those are the shadow days. That's the
Mhm.
shadow. When you get those dark days, they feel like dark nights of the soul. You feel like you're dying and there is no hope. And you just want to, crawl in under the bed. It's not far enough down. You want to like go under the roots of a tree or something and just lay there for a while. But
Yeah.
it's an initiation and you come out stronger. Um, so I'll probably be going through that, but I'm noticing that I'm going through it less each time, and I'm getting better at. I think I'm just getting better at getting through it and understanding it and knowing how to help myself. Whereas before it was like, wow, it would, devastate. Yeah, I didn't know, but now I know, and I get really negative. So it's like, okay, I'm not writing today. I'm not cooking today. No sharp tools, no machinery. I'm in the fetal position and I don't eat either. And I barely drink anything. And I don't know what it is. It's just pain that comes bubbling up from God knows where, from ancient history. You can't even put a name to it, but you have to honor it because you pushed it down and ignored it for so long that it's trying to come out. And so I sit with it and I roll around with it and I scream and I cry and I sleep and before you know it, I'm out playing with the dog. And it's over. And I got a good article or something.
Well, there's always light and hope that comes out of every situation, whether it's dark or light. And
I try to
so,
make sure of that too. I try to make sure that there's some good that comes out of something.
yeah. And so, do you want to take some time and talk about your work with ecotherapy and expressive art?
Um, well, you can use any form of art that you want. I mean, clay or paint or I've been painting rocks.
Ooh, going back to the 60s.
I And I'm in Florida, so I have to buy my rocks. Can you believe it?
You can't just pick up rocks off the ground in Florida.
You pick sand up.
Oh,
No,
you're near the beach.
there are no rocks like that here in Florida. It's sad. I came from the Poconos and upstate New York and stuff like that where they have rocks. California has nice, smooth rocks. Here you got to buy rocks. But hey, I'm painting all kinds of power animals on my rocks and Vikings because, when I almost died, I found out. Well, I came out of the hospital and I was obsessed with whales and Viking ships, and so I did my DNA. And I got a lot. I didn't even know. So I got a
Yeah,
lot of Celtic stuff going on. Yeah, so I studied some Celtic shamanism just because I got to honor that. And basically, I said, well, I want to be a shaman for my community, and so I studied what shamans do for their community. I even got a minister's license, so I could marry somebody if they needed to be married or something. And so I'm like, okay, the shamans, if someone's depressed, nobody gets depressed because they do art, they create. We're creative beings. We're supposed to create. And if we don't create, yeah, we're going to get depressed. So go out, find something in nature and bring it home and make something out of it. Like I got these monkey ear pods. Here, let me see. Get this one. You could see her.
oh yeah.
Okay, hello. So these are monkey ear pods, and they're from a tree in the park. And I also
Okay.
have them in the car because they got seeds in them, and I use it for a maraca to keep my cattle dog occupied so he doesn't get bored because the red lights last forever. So this is a shamanic drumming mask.
That's really actually kind of cool and kind of reminiscent of the masks like you would see in the medicine men in some of the indigenous tribes.
Yeah, I've got a lot of masks around here. There's
Which
a
I have an interesting question
this
and
is
your opinion on when we're done with these.
oh, we're dead. They're all over.
No, you can talk about them. I didn't want to cut you off. I just
Yeah, I was just showing you that you can make stuff with nature. See, and
yeah,
that used to be a mouse, I guess. I had to get that off of SD.
that's that's amazing what you do with those. Those are really beautiful.
And I have so many, but yeah. So this is to obscure vision, so they go into a trance. So they don't really need drugs or anything. They just the drumming and the sound of the drumming and the tone put you in a trance. Like my dog was so restless yesterday, and I just started drumming, and he went fell right to sleep. But this, if you want to have like visions and stuff like that. Anyway, so it was like crazy. It was like I just kept getting visions and visions and visions of next one, and I would finish one and another vision would come, and I'm like, oh my god. And so I've got them all over the place. I used to have them in an art gallery, but the woman that ran the art gallery, she was not a good businesswoman. She ran her business into the ground, and she left a lot of wounded people in her wake. Like she stole a lot of money from a lot of stuff from artists. And
Oh, that's not good.
no, I think she traumatized a lot of artists. Anyway, so all my masks are here now. And I'm like, I don't
Well,
know.
maybe you can open a store in your place.
I don't know. The area I'm in, nobody really knows what they are. I mean,
Well, that's what I mean. Is it can be an online store, and
oh well, I had some. I sold one to some guy in France for dancing at a disco. He used it for disco stuff, so it wasn't like this, but it was more like a, I don't know, tie beanie type with the fringes, and I had like, it was beaded out and stuff.
yeah,
But they don't really know what they're for. I mean, around here, they're like, oh, they're nice, but I don't know what they're for.
or whatever you want them to be.
Well, I figure this, the spirits told me to make them. My beings told me to make them. So maybe I just don't know what they're for yet. Because sometimes you have to wait, a long time before you know what something's all about. Like having
Or
like years later going, oh, that's what that's about. You know?
it could also be, they're waiting for you to put it online, and somebody, say in Germany, is going, I need this, and we'll see the mask and go, that's the missing piece to what I need. And that's, what
I'm
they're
thinking,
for.
I'm thinking more of a stage performance or something.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Everybody will see it in a different light. And so,
Yeah. I mean, I did have some of them online, and I don't know.
but
It's kind of a pain trying to sell stuff online.
it is.
Yeah.
But
And
so,
those vending days, and it's just me. I'm a little person. I had like all this vending stuff to break down and set up, and when you're in your 60s, come on.
yeah, life should be simpler.
Yeah, life should be simpler, especially when you get to be like, I had like, I think it was called a sweetheart sale, and I had a vendor booth, and I had my red straw cowboy hat up there. But when I was breaking it down, my husband was at a poetry read, in charge of the poetry reading. So I had to break it down, and I couldn't use the side door that I used to get in the mall. I had to push these things all the way across the mall. And the only friend I had, well, they were well in their 80s. And I feel like I'm torturing these elderly people. And these young kids come and they're like, can we help you guys? And we're like, yes, please. So these young, and then I decided I wasn't doing vending anymore because I'm not torturing my friends like that.
And I understand that. And so, I have an interesting perspective type question for you. And I don't know if anyone's ever thought about or asked this, but being shamanic trained, we view, culturally, each tribe had one shaman medicine man for the tribe, and he would take care of everyone. But who took care of the shaman?
He took care of himself. I'm sure he had a woman. Have you ever seen the Emerald Forest?
I have.
You know, need. His wife probably takes care of him so that he can take care of the tribe.
It's just, it was something in my mind that I was like, I don't know that anyone's ever thought, about that we always see one shaman per tribe and how they can take care of everybody and themselves, and there's got to be a point where, you're taking on so much that you need an outlet and be like, who helps them?
Well, it's not as screwed up of a society as ours is. Not as much complex problems. There's more like natural food, natural environment. They do things like they make things, they sing, they dance. Singing and dancing please the spirits. That's prayer, singing and dancing. And that'll put you closer to anything. So there's a lot of singing and dancing going on. The whole tribe does it together. And they look out for each other. So I don't think that a shaman's job's like we would totally burn them out like the poor therapy dogs in our country, you know. The little eye twitches and stuff. That's my therapy dog. Blinky. That's my therapy dog, Blinky.
Or, you go to show up to your therapist and the office has a "we're closed." We've moved to this area now, and you're like, what?
No kidding. Yeah. So, yeah. So I think that kind of life, they look out for. Now we're all separated, and families have it hard. They used to have like whole community taking care of the children. Now people with kids, I don't know how they do it. Things are so expensive.
Oh yeah. And so we're I actually just noticed we're over an hour by 18 minutes, so I apologize that I didn't notice that sooner.
Okay.
But do you have any advice or any message that you feel like you want to leave the audience with?
That they need to give themselves the love that they're looking for on the outside. Give themselves like whatever you want, whatever. I used to get so mad at my husband because he wasn't giving me what I wanted, like like what? I'm just going to give myself what I want. I'm going to eat the food that I want. I'm going to, I'm going to give myself a hug. I'll talk to myself lovingly. If I feel like I need to dance, or I'll go lay on the ground, or I'll go hug a tree, or take a long time in the shower and make it like some kind of ritual and play Viking power music. Oh, Viking power music. If you want to feel powerful, play some Viking war music. And just putting a dish in the dish drainer is epic, man. Oh, you feel so powerful. But I think I listened to too much Viking power music when I was first in recovery. And then I got too much like yang energy. So now I'm trying to taper it off with some yin energy and do some. That's why I think my dog that passed away, he was more like a Viking warrior. And the one I have now is more like, he's like a Zen master, like sits there and looks at something for like an hour. And so do I now. So we're tandem healing together. Yes.
Well, that's beautiful.
If they have a pet, tandem heal with your pet, because animals are not with you it's not a mistake. They chose you as much as you chose them, and they often mirror what you need to heal.
Well, that's very true.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on and sharing your story and everything with us. I truly appreciate it, and I appreciate your authenticity and being open.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate yours too. I got my power animals here too, see.
Oh, the panther and the owl.
Yes. But wait, there's more. No. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Yes, it was. And I want to leave you with a little message from me to you. And that is, from my heart and the heart of my show, thank you for what you do for humanity. It is seen. You are seen. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So what do we do now?
Now we just say goodbye to everybody and just revel in the energy and go find Paul and hang out at Area 51.
Yeah. I got to watch that movie again.
I know. You got me thinking about that movie now. I'm like, man, we're going to see Paul again.
That's a Paul. That's Seth Rogen, man.
That was like the best movie.
Yes, yes. Oh, Seth Rogen's awesome.
Yeah. My favorite scene was it seems grotesque to when we think about it, but when he brings the bird to life and then eats it, and he's like, "Why did you heal it to eat it?" He's like, "Why would I eat it dead? That's gross." And then we're like, "No, eating it alive is gross."
That's cute, yeah. I like the show Resident Alien too. That one cracks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That guy is hilarious.
He is.
I haven't seen him in anything else.
He was in Firefly and the movie Serenity, and then he went to Resident Alien, and I'm sure he's done other work, but those are the two pieces that I've really seen him in.
He's so funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's funny. He's a funny guy.
Well, thank you. Have a wonderful evening and week. And thank you to everybody that watched and participated in the chat room.
Yeah.
So with that, we are going to say goodnight and blessings to you all, and may hope guide your days.
Are you going to beam me up from here, or do I wait for Scotty?
Oh, if you can get a hold of Scotty, you give me that number.
I got friends who can get a hold of Scotty. He's called DJ and Shinny Penny. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.